Here we go again. This time it's Kennedy versus Bremerton School District. The Kennedy in this is a football coach, assistant football coach at Bremerton High School named Joseph Kennedy. And I can remember my grandmother telling me when I was a kid growing up. She was the Christian influence, in my young life. My grandmother was a fundamentalist Christian, not a Nazi, Christian Nazi, because she kept her religion to herself, except when she was ministering to other people, like visiting the sick or people in jail, exactly what her Messiah told her to do. She did. And one of the things that my grandmother insisted that the rabbi, although she didn't call him rabbi, the rabbi from Nazareth told his followers to do was to pray in private. In fact, when Jesus of Nazareth was 14? Just past his bar mitzvah, he went to the temple and raised holy hell, you might say, with the merchants who were defiling the temple with their public prayers and their commerce. Do you remember that? Do you remember that, reading that in your Bible? I mean, surely to God you remember that. I remember it. And this is stuff I learned when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. But I guess when you learn stuff like that early on, you keep it. And I look at what my grandmother told me about Jesus of Nazareth as history, not religion. Oh, shit, no, history. And in that regard, I respect it. I really do. I do believe there was a man, a rabbi, part-time, carpenter the rest of the time, who wandered around the Middle East 2,000 years ago trying to wake people up. You know, Jesus was the first woke person, at least in the Middle East. And what did he get for it? A pretty miserable death. Where was I? But Jesus told the Pharisees and the priests to, more or less, I don't know how you put it in Aramaic, but he said more or less, shut the fuck up. What are you doing with your public prayers? This is not how you talk with my Father in heaven. Or a reasonable facsimile thereof, right? So ever since then, especially now, the fascist Christians, and I might add that this country is chock-a-block with fascist Christians. A lot of them are in our Congress. Well, just about every member of our Congress, except for the Jews. And I think there's a couple of Muslims now, right? Hey. Anyway, this public prayer is totally against what Jesus of Nazareth told his followers to do. Now, the fascist Christians today, they don't give a shit because they are not interested in following what their Messiah told them to do. Oh, hell no. They're using their Jesus to beat the fuck out of other people, embarrass other people, punish, hurt, torture, shame other people. Which brings me to this miserable bastard Joseph Kennedy, the former Bremerton High School assistant coach. I say former because they fired him. Because they told him, look, you can't go to the 50-yard line. This is what he was doing. He would go to the 50-yard line, right in the middle of the 50-yard line, middle of the stadium, at the end of a game, and get down on a knee and offer up his bullshit prayer. Now, you know that he was not talking to his God. First of all, it doesn't exist. But he was talking to himself and making a big show. Oh, look how holy I am. Look at what a sterling example of Christianity I am. I'm here witnessing in front of, why is everybody leaving? Wait. I'm not finishing my prayer. Now, the Bremerton High School, I understand, did not offer this guy a closet someplace. That's what my grandmother said. She said to me, now you have to remember, my grandmother was an Italian immigrant. She had education that would be the equivalent in this country of maybe 4th grade. She was not a learned woman. So she did not read the Bible in the ancient Greek or Aramaic or Hebrew. She read it in English, what she could understand in the King James Version. And because of that, she said, well, Jesus said to go to your closet and pray. So, yeah, you're way ahead of me, right? Sometimes when I was staying with her during the summers, she would say, I think it's time we went into the closet and prayed. Now, at first, that scared the hell out of me. I didn't like dark closet. This is a big walk-in closet. But she would take me in there by the hand and kneel down, and she would say, I don't know, maybe 3-4 minutes of prayer, the kind of prayer that you'd hear on Wednesday night or I would hear on Wednesday night at prayer meeting at her church. Blessing President Truman and praying for peace in Korea and all this other stuff. But to her, it was a literal go to your closet and pray. Somebody should have told this asshole Joseph Kennedy, in the first place, nobody gives a shit if you're a Christian or a goddamn Wiccan. Why do you have to push it in other people's faces? Why do you have to gather these high school boys with you? Now, the argument is he never asked any of the high school boys to join him in this bullshit on the 50-yard line after each game. But little by little, they started coming out because you have to understand that I'm sure a number of the Bremerton High School football team had been brainwashed by their own parents. There's this big thing in the sky, boys. It's going to fucking kill you and torture you and burn you alive unless you believe what you learned in Sunday school. How can people believe this shit? So, here we go. Kennedy versus Bremerton High School. It's being heard today, Monday, at the Supreme Court. Now, this is a court that recently has been just overwhelmingly protective of religious rights if they're Christian. Because nobody else brings this kind of bullshit to the Supreme Court. You want to practice a religion? Have at it, dude or dudette. Do whatever you fucking want to do as long as it doesn't involve live sacrifice or mutilating animals. But why do you have to make such a show of it? And if you're Christian, your Messiah told you not to do this. But he also told you things to do that most of you assholes avoid completely. You show up in your churches on Sunday, you listen to the sermon, you drop an offering envelope in the plate, you sing a few hymns and walk out. And you haven't changed a goddamn bit. Your faith in some supreme being has not been strengthened. You're just a hypocrite. You think, I guess these people think that this is their ticket to non-oblivion. I'm not a theologian. Oh, really? No, I'm not. And I'm not a philosopher. No, I'm not. As a matter of fact, most of what I know comes from a course of autodidactism. Oh, really? Yes. But I want to say this. Oblivion, I don't think is that bad. And I'll tell you why. I've been there. And so have you. Every single person who has ever lived on this planet has experienced oblivion. How? Well, think of the infinite amount of time that occurred before you were conscious. Isn't that oblivion? Do you remember anything? Fuck no, you don't remember anything because it's oblivion. Did you experience anything? Oh, get real. So we have this brief shining moment between two infinite parts of oblivion. Pre-Mike Malloy or pre-you and post-Mike Malloy or post-you. It depends on the person. So these people who say, well, I'm so afraid of dying. I don't want to cease to exist. Asshole, you ceased to exist for for an eternity before you got conscious. And you're going to cease to exist for an eternity after you give up your consciousness. So what's the big fucking deal? Where was I? Oh, yeah. The Supreme Court, this one in particular, that is chock-a-block with fascist Christians. Oh, my God, is it? What do we have? One Jew on the Supreme Court now? Is that it? Justice Kagan? Only one? I think. That's a shame. Because I think that there you go. I'll come up with something real extreme. Every Supreme Court justice should be a Jew. Because they have an understanding of justice. Justice that doesn't slide over this way and slide over that way. Fascist Christians don't give a rat's ass about justice. They may care about the law, or they try to pretend like they do, but the law and justice are not always in sync, are they? Where was I? Jews. Oh, that's right. Every Supreme Court justice should be a Jew, not an Orthodox Jew. Maybe, I don't know, Reformed or something. But all this bullshit started 60 years ago with the, I think it was the Madeleine Murray O'Hare case that said the government cannot organize or promote prayer in public schools. Now, the fascist Christians, ever since that, 60 years ago, ever since that, and yeah, I remember that too, the fascist Christians have been screaming and farting and wheezing that Madeleine Murray O'Hare chased God out of the schools. Oh, get fucking over yourself. No, she didn't. And the case that wound up in the Supreme Court, caused by her objections, did not banish prayer from schools. Any kid who goes to school can pray as much as she wants to. It just can't be a prayer organized by a representative of government, which would be anybody connected with that school. Now, of course, the fascist Christians disagree with that. They say, well, if they can't pray in school, there wouldn't be all the terrible shit going on in the world if it weren't because God was chased out of the school. Oh, give me a fucking break. All this shit's going on, murder and mayhem in the United States because of a breakdown in any kind of ethical conduct. Not necessarily moral conduct, ethical. Now, I'm getting too close to philosophy, and I am not a philosopher, so let me back up a little bit here. Now, this case has been there before. For the case Kennedy versus Bremerton, 4 justices sympathized with this poor, miserable shit a couple of years ago when the case first reached the Supreme Court. But when it did, the court didn't hear it because they said, well, this is premature. Go back and work your way up through the court system, which this fascist Christian has now done. Now, the Supreme Court pits red states against blue states and some professional football players against others. It divides constitutional experts and has drawn more attention than any case at the Supreme Court this term. There have been, listen to this, according to the Washington Post, 57 amicus briefs, friend of the court briefs, filed in this one case. Oh, please, Supreme Court justices, let God back into the classroom. That fucking Madeleine Murray O'Hare chased her out, that bitch. Let God back in. Supreme Court, you hold the key. God can't go back in unless you let him. Do you know what it means if this court rules that this guy has a right to pray on school property, which I think is what this court is going to rule? That is the end of separation of church and state. The end. It's the nose of the camel under the tent flap. Here we go.
Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.